The pregnant widow returned to her childhood home, but her mother was still inside. I know this sounds impossible, but I swear every detail I'm about to share happened exactly as I'm telling you in Whispering Pines, Maine, during a stormy autumn in 2022. Before I continue this true supernatural account, subscribe to hear the full story that forever changed my understanding of life after death. The very air in that dilapidated house felt charged, as if it were alive, thrumming with whispers that echoed my mother's name. Only I was certain she had passed years ago. It was a sensation I couldn't quite shake, each inhalation heavy with the weight of things unsaid and unresolved. Shadows crept along the walls, shifting in and out of visibility, while the scent of her lavender perfume, long gone from this world, wrapped around me like a suffocating embrace, making my stomach churn with both comfort and terror. The faded wallpaper, peeling in corners, seemed to breathe with forgotten memories, and the wooden floors groaned underfoot, each creak echoing the stories that had lived there long before I returned. I felt icy fingers brush against my skin, as if unseen hands were guiding me through long-forgotten memories that resurfaced with every creak of the floorboards, each step inviting echoes of laughter and saint suppression, sorrow long buried beneath layers of time. A bittersweet taste of desperation thickened in my throat as I thought of my unborn child, soon to know neither grandmother nor home. Returning to this haunted place, with my life hanging in the balance and my late husband's absence weighing heavily on my heart, it felt like a cruel twist of fate. I believed I was just seeking refuge, a moment of solace in a world that had turned dark and chaotic. But the truth sank in when ghostly apparitions began appearing at night, the twisted faces of those lost in a tragic fire decades earlier, their expressions reflecting anguish as they reached for my growing belly, warning me that my mother's spirit was trapped, desperate to protect me, but unable to break free. As I sat in the gloom of my childhood bedroom, I began to process the unsettling reality before me. The air shimmered with an otherworldly presence, palpable and oppressive, as memories of my mother flooded through me, igniting a fierce protective instinct for my baby. But it wasn't just nostalgia that enveloped me. It was the chill of an ancient dread mingling with the warmth of love, the complex layers of my feelings tugging at the threads of my heart. Each night, the shadows grew darker, hints of long-forgotten pain filling the space, pouring out from walls that held secrets like a diary, woven with the fears and hopes of generations gone by. It was then that the fragile barrier between the living and the dead thinned, revealing undeniable truths, and I realized that something was beckoning me, something entangled with my mother's spirit, something desperate for acknowledgement. If you've ever sensed a presence in an empty room, you understand the chill that ran down my spine that night. Those moments of stillness where you feel the weight of unseen eyes on you, the reminder that I was not as alone as my grief had led me to believe. Driven by a mixture of fear and the indomitable urge to confront this unknown, I recalled tales of ancestral wisdom passed down through generations of women in my family, guiding us through the tribulations of life and death. The teachings of my grandmother echoed in my ears. Never ignore the whispers of those who came before. Perhaps this moment held the key to understanding why the past had returned to haunt me. I remembered her gentle encouragement to confront the darkness rather than shy away, to embrace the unknown with open arms, a lesson I thought I had forgotten in my adult life. What would you have done if unexplainable marks appeared on your child's body while they slept? Tell me in the comments below. My mind raced with possibilities. Was I simply imagining things? Or was there some haunting truth buried in my family's history that was reaching out to me now? I closed my eyes, letting the memories wash over me. The scent of lavender in the garden my mother tended. The way her laughter would brighten even the cloudiest days. Yet, alongside those comforting thoughts, came the weight of questions. What had happened to her, and why did the shadows tug at my sanity? The boundary between this world and the next had become nearly non-existent, and I could feel the restless energy that surged through this house. With renewed determination, I decided to confront the restless energy that seemed to pulse throughout the house, nearly alive beneath my fingertips. Standing in the dim light of my mother's old living room, the faded furniture a testament to years spent in comfort and heartache, I called out, no, demanded answers from the spirit world. "What do you want from me?" I challenged, feeling the air crackle with tension, as if the atmosphere itself was waiting for my courage to spark a response. The shadows, once threatening, flickered as if debating my presence. A chill swept through the room, a sign, perhaps, that I was to be met with an answer, or perhaps even a warning. The heaviness in the air shifted, and I felt an overwhelming wave of emotion wash over me, pouring from the depths of the unseen with palpable intensity. A mother's instinct to protect doesn't stop at flesh and blood threats. It extends to whatever crosses the boundary between this world and the next. Something was moving, and I could feel it in my bones, the faint murmurs of souls intertwined with my own. As I prepared myself for whatever revelation might come next, I couldn't help but wonder, what lay ahead in this journey into the unknown? And would I come out the other side intact? As the tension thickened in the air, the flickering shadows coalesced into a familiar form, the essence of my mother, woven into the very fabric of this house. My heart raced, half in fear and half in desperate longing. Her visage shimmered like a dream, hazy yet undeniably real, the features softening the edges of dread that wrapped around me. "Mom?" I croaked, my voice barely a whisper, trembling with emotion. The death I had mourned years ago now felt like a gaping wound, and standing before her apparition, I struggled to make sense of it. It was as if time had folded over itself and presented me this moment, a gift wrapped in sorrow. The shadows around her pulsed, echoing her pain, intertwining with my wonder. "Help me," the familiar voice echoed, laced with a haunting urgency. I knew that voice. It was my mother's, but it carried an otherworldly resonance that sent chills through my soul. "You must remember." Each word struck me like a cold wind, pulling me deeper into memories long buried. Suddenly, I was 11 years old again. Standing in this very room, the echoes of laughter chasing away shadows. We had shared secrets, my mother and I. It was our sanctuary. But the laughter had vanished, replaced with sorrow and a fire that consumed her future. "What do you need me to remember?" My heart ached as I reached toward her, feeling the icy air pull away from me. "I've tried to so many times, but all I see are the flames." "Not the flames," she interrupted, her voice breaking like fragile glass. "It's what came after, the choices we made." In that moment, as if her words were a key, the atmosphere changed, and those spectral figures from the tragic fire materialized around her. Faces twisted with pain, they reached toward me, hands outstretched, their expressions a mixture of anguish and yearning. They shuffled closer, eyes hollow yet imploring. "What do you want from me?" I asked again, this time louder, desperation creeping into my tone. The chill in the room, thickening ever so slightly, made it hard to breathe. The boundaries of fear and compassion danced precariously together. Suddenly, one of the specters, a young woman with singed hair and tear-streaked cheeks, leaned closer, urgency driving her movements. "Help us find peace," she cried, her voice barely a whisper, yet it reverberated in the silence. "We are trapped between worlds, echoes of a tragedy that linger in this home." This plea tore at my heart. Shadows of regret and longing now replaced the fear I initially felt. Each of these souls was a fragment of the tragedy, bound by their unfulfilled desires, seeking clarity in their own dark end. Somehow, I was now incredibly connected to them, a fragile bridge between the living and the dead. I thought of my child, a life not yet born but fiercely alive within me, and the panic intensified. "But how can I help you?" I pleaded, an answer begging to arrive. I don't know how to reach beyond the veil. And then it all came rushing in. The ancestral tales of my family echoed within me as I recalled the blessings and curses intertwined with our lineage. My grandmother's stories played like a familiar melody, lifting me from the turmoil. This house had not only been a home for the living, it had become a cemetery of souls wrapped in layers of unresolved grief. "Listen," I dared to speak, looking at the specters. "You need to tell me what happened. I can't change the past, but we can deliver your stories. I can help you find peace." The urgency in my voice felt grounding, as if I had seized the moment to alter an ancient course. Behind the gathering shadows, the air shimmered and darkened, a cruel reminder of the past swirling through me. "You must confront the source of the pain," my mother said softly, the comfort of her presence shimmering even through the horror surrounding us. "Only then can we heal the wounds that have festered here, that intertwine us." The temperature of the room plummeted as the ghosts closed ranks, and the swirling fabric of grief morphed into something more tangible, an image of the fire igniting in my mind's eye. I could feel its heat on my skin. I could hear the crackling timbers, the screams mingling with the crack of collapsing bricks, a nightmarish highlight reel of anguish that I had never fully understood before. The historian's warnings came flooding back to me. This house holds secrets, and not all spirits mean harm. Some wish to protect. My heart raced as I tried to ground myself amid this chaos, determination surging within me alongside the undeniable fear. I realized that I must follow through with the truth I was being drawn toward, the truth waiting to break through from the pain of the past. "What happened that night?" I begged, calling out to the gathered spirits. "Tell me, and I'll be your voice. I'll make sure you're not forgotten." The shadows shifted restlessly, nudging memories closer to the surface. One by one, they granted me glimpses into their suffering, and the weight of it all flooded me like icy water, shocking my senses. I felt their anguish course through my veins, piercing even deeper than my own torment. "This was a place of love," the young woman whispered. But it burned under the weight of despair. I took a deep breath, soul on fire with the knowledge that I needed to uncover the truth. Not just for me, but for those who had been lost in the consuming darkness. What was once a grain of fear blossomed into hope, leaving room in my heart for the possibility of healing. Would I be strong enough to face the past? The question lingered as shadows shifted around me, forming a tighter circle of intent, and I prepared myself for the reckoning that lay ahead, knowing that my life and my child's depended on it. With an unsteady resolve coursing through me, I felt a strange calmness settle as the apparitions shifted again. They fluttered at the edges of my vision, like the last embers of a flame struggling against the suffocating weight of despair. Each face reminded me of the importance of their stories, of their pain, and the deep wound that had marred this house for generations. "Please help me understand," I implored, a hint of desperation creeping into my voice. "What were you trying to tell me?" I focused on the young woman, feeling a connection that went beyond fear and into something profound, something sacred. Then, the atmosphere seemed to coalesce as the spirits began to whisper in unison, their voices overlapping to create an ethereal harmony. The fire was not just flames, they sang, a sorrowful melody that echoed through the dim room, vibrating within my bones. It consumed the light of our love and hope, our dreams turning to smoke. In that moment, an image exploded in my mind. I saw the house, once vibrant with life and laughter, transformed into a cruel specter of its former self. The fire blazed through the kitchen, hungry and relentless, while screams filled the air, a cacophony of fear and despair that twisted my gut. "Wait!" I cried, my breath catching in my throat. "I've seen this before. This vision of the flames. Who caused it?" The spirits faltered for a fraction of a heartbeat, and a silence fell heavy in the room. The flickering shadows paused, as if a dark truth was being unveiled. I knew it. The fire was not simply an accident, but a manifestation of suffering, ignited by the struggles of love and loss. "It was her," one spirit cried out, voice filled with anguish. "Her?" I echoed, heart pounding in my chest, the significance of the name reaching out to the deepest chambers of my memory. Was it my mother? "Yes!" shouted the young woman, stepping forward, her expression mingled with regret and sorrow. She was trapped in the flames, but she was not alone. She saved another. She saved him. Her desperate gaze held mine, compelling me to make the connection. "He was your father." The revelation struck me like a lightning bolt, and the weight of it hit me hard. My mind raced, grappling with the fragmented remnants of my childhood. "My father?" I breathed, mind spinning with disbelief. My father had vanished before I could forge memories, lost in the shadows of a past I didn't get to choose. But now, there were pieces falling into place, connecting the dots of a lost legacy I longed to grasp. "Your mother sacrificed everything, but he fell victim to the fire," the young woman continued, tears streaming down her spectral face. "Her love kept him from harm, but in the end, it swallowed them both." A fresh wave of anguish washed over me, the knowledge that my mother, whose very essence I craved in life, had been intertwined with a darkness I barely understood. She ran into the flames for love, sealing her fate with a tragic decision. Was it also her love that trapped her here? I whispered, voice trembling at the weight of it all. The shadows nodded in unison, their collective grief palpable, covering me like a shroud. "She clings to regret and hope, looking for the light that once guided her," the young woman explained. "But there is no peace while her sacrifice remains unrecognized." The air pulsed with a sense of urgency, and I could sense the tide of emotions shifting around me, beckoning me to forge ahead. If my mother's spirit was indeed trapped, burdened by guilt and sorrow, I had to help her find solace. "What can I do?" I asked, leaning deeper into the weight of the moment. "Find the truth," the spirits whispered, their attention folding inward with desperate grace. "Transform the losses into love. You must honor the past by sharing their stories. Only then will the wounds begin to heal." Hope flickered to life in my chest, and my resolve solidified. I had to embrace this challenge. I had to face the pain head-on and give it a voice. The spirits around me swelled with anticipation, their energy vibrant as they began to dissipate, merging into a collective brilliance that illuminated the dim room. "Tell their stories," the young woman urged, her voice growing faint, "and in doing so, help us find freedom." "Please come back," I called after them, an instinctive plea trembling on my lips as the room darkened, whispers fading into the corners of the house. "I'll remember. I promise." And just like that, I was alone again, but not in the same way I had been before. The weight of the past hung heavy across my shoulders, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of purpose light the flames of my determination. "This home holds the memories," I murmured, stroking the walls that cradled so much suffering. "And I will be the vessel that brings them into the light." I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of lavender that lingered faintly in the air. The last remnants of my mother's love wrapping around me like a warm embrace, urging me forward. This was my lineage, my responsibility. I would uncover the truth, and with every heartbeat, I would break the cycle that bound us to pain. As I turned towards the window, the first rays of dawn began to bleed through the thick clouds, casting a golden glow over the house. My heart raced with anticipation for the journey that lay ahead as I began to understand the true power of love, the strength to heal not only the living, but the spirits tethered by grief. "This is just the beginning," I whispered to myself, readiness igniting my soul. "I will honor your stories, and together, we will embrace the light." the sun spilled into the house like liquid gold, its warm rays illuminating the once somber spaces now filled with hope. My heart raced with an urgency I had never felt before. I held my belly, feeling the stirring life within, a reminder that I was not just fighting for myself, but for a new generation that needed to know the strength of love and resilience. As I moved through each room, the memories hidden in every corner began to whisper to me. The house felt alive, its walls holding the echoes of laughter and sorrow, inviting me to remember the lives that had flourished here. I rummaged through boxes filled with ancient photographs and brittle letters, each item stirring fragments of forgotten memories. Then, I discovered my mother's journal, a leather-bound treasure that had weathered time and heartache. Opening it, I inhaled the familiar scent of lavender and began to read her words of joy. Summer picnics, sweet evenings spent together, my father's unwavering devotion. But as I turned the pages, the tone shifted, revealing her anxieties about a lurking darkness. "What if the shadows seek to consume us?" she had written, anxiety etched in every letter. Just as I finished her poignant words, a small, folded piece of paper slid from the pages. My hands trembled as I unfolded it to reveal a drawing, an intricate sigil that emanated an energy of protection. My mother's notes detailed her desperate attempts to guard our home from the very shadows she feared. She wasn't just a victim, I realized. She was a warrior. Empowered by her legacy, I felt a resurgence of determination swell within me. If her intentions had been to protect us, then it was my duty to honor that legacy and finish what she had started. Fueled by purpose, I reached out to neighbors and local historians, piecing together the tragic history that had haunted my family for decades. In dusty archives, I unearthed newspaper articles detailing the fire that had consumed our home and the lives lost within its flames. Each discovery peeled back layers of shame that had muted the voices of those impacted by the tragedy. "Why were the families silenced?" I implored a wizened librarian, her eyes clouded with memories. "The pain was too great," she replied. "People avoided discussing it, but the spirits linger, searching for peace." Her haunting words sent a shiver racing down my spine. Somewhere among the shadows of this home, my mother, my father, and those lost still existed. It would be my responsibility to find a way to advocate for their stories, to give them the voice they had been denied. Determined, I resolved to create a ceremony that would not only honor their memories, but also invoke their protection over this home. Drawing inspiration from my mother's notes, I devised a plan that would transform my grief into a celebration of love and healing. Gathering flowers, candles, and tokens of hope, I prepared the living room for the ritual, each item symbolizing the endurance of love amidst loss. As I placed the sigil at the center, I felt the room crackle with energy, as if the spirits of my mother and the lost souls were drawing closer. With a deep breath, I began to chant softly, affirming my commitment to honor their stories. Each flickering flame sparked in response, a warm embrace wrapping around me. I could almost hear my mother, her voice echoing through the decades, a reminder that love does transcend, if only we have the courage to make it known. "Spirit of my mother," I called. "And all those who linger here, I invite you to join me. I stand as your vessel, ready to share your tales." The air thickened with anticipation as the shadows began to shift, swirling around me like whispers of memories. In that moment, I understood that I wasn't merely a participant in this ceremony. I was a bridge, a connection between the past's pain and the promise of healing. I spoke their names aloud, invoking their essence, each utterance drawing me closer to the spirit realm. I felt a powerful surge of energy course through me, a blend of grief and hope intertwining with the very air I breathed. As I lit the last candle, illuminating the sigil in a crimson glow, the whispers grew louder. A chorus of gratitude mingled with the shadows. The room seemed to thrum with a warmth that made the hairs on my neck stand on end, and I closed my eyes, allowing their presence to wash over me. In that sacred space, as I held my breath, I felt not only my mother, but also those lost souls reaching out to me, intertwining their stories with my own. Here, in this moment of connection, we wove together the threads of memory and love that had been frayed by time. When I opened my eyes, the air shimmered with presence, and I became acutely aware of the power of our connection. I realized that these stories belonged not only to the past, but also to the present, and they carried the wisdom needed to propel us into the future, a future where love trumped fear. As I made my offerings, the weight of their stories lifted, cascading through the room like a waterfall of light. I smiled through the tears, feeling the essence of each spirit rise with the flames, blending into a radiant tapestry of love that shone brightly against the shadows. "This is just the beginning," I declared, a fierce determination igniting deep within. I would not only honor their legacies, I would transform them into something that would reverberate through generations. I would be the voice that carries their tales, weaving hope from despair, forever ensuring that love, even amid loss, would shine brightly. As the final echoes of their gratitude faded, I came to understand that I was not alone. We stood united, the living and the spirits, all together, ready to embrace the path of healing. This legacy had been forged in heartache, but now it could inspire strength, resilience, and light wherever darkness dared to tread. With renewed purpose, I stepped forward, determined to navigate the future, fueled by the love that binds us all. The echoes of those who came before would guide me, whispering their stories through my heart, and together we would embrace the journey of healing. As I stood in the warm glow of the candles, the remnants of the ceremony lingered like a fragrant mist in the air. With each exhale, I felt a lighter burden, as if the spirits of my mother and those lost had truly found refuge within the embrace of our connection. Yet, deep within me, a stirring unease remained, an instinct that the journey was far from over. For days that followed, I dedicated myself to embracing the whispers of the past. I kept my mother's journal close, poring over its pages, searching for any additional truths that needed to be unearthed. Each word I read felt like a key unlocking hidden doors, revealing further layers of the family's legacy, secrets that begged to be told. My purpose had solidified into a mission, a quest to not only celebrate their lives, but to truly understand the intricate web that tied us all together. With each passing day, I found solace in the little moments. Cooking in the kitchen, my mother's favorite recipes guiding my hands, imparting warmth into every dish. Slowly but steadily, I transformed our home, every corner infused with the love I wished to share. Candles adorned every surface, their flames flickering with purpose. Colorful flowers blossomed in various rooms, and photographs of our family filled the air with nostalgia, a vibrant tribute to those we lost. But even as I sought comfort in these rituals, a feeling of being watched began to manifest. It was subtle at first, a cold breeze on the back of my neck or the faint sound of laughter echoing through the hallways when silence was expected. Just as my mother had forewarned in her notes, the spirits were there, lingering at the edges, and I felt their emotions swirl around me. Gratitude, sorrow, and longing. One evening, as I prepared to write more of their stories, I sensed an unusually strong presence, a familiar warmth wrapping around my shoulders, like a gentle hug from the past. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to surrender to the connection that pulled at my heartstrings. "Is it you, Mom?" I murmured, tingling with anticipation. As if in reply, a soft glow flickered by the window, illuminating the long hall and casting shapes upon the walls. Intrigued, I stepped closer, breathless with a sense of urgency to understand the signs unfolding before me. The shadows transformed, emerging with clarity. Faces forming, gathering to dance around me. Echoes spiraling into a fluid dance of motion, glistening with purpose. "Listen," they whispered in unison, a gentle symphony of voices interwoven with the breeze. we are here to guide you. The past is not finished with you yet, nor it with us. With courage blooming within me, I followed their whispers, allowing the emotions to envelop my being. I felt my heart pounding, not from fear, but from an unshakable sense that I was being led towards something vital, something that would finalize the bond we shared. They beckoned me to the second floor, guiding me to a small attic space untouched by time. I had always stayed away from this room, fearing it held remnants of deeper pain than I was yet prepared to confront. Heart pounding with anticipation, I hesitated at the door, a wave of memories flooding back, flickers of light, laughter, and secrets hidden beneath the weight of years gone by. As I opened the creaky door, the scent of old wood and dust enveloped me in a comforting haze. The attic was a chaotic collection of faded boxes, old furniture, and clothes shrouded in cobwebs. However, amidst the debris, my gaze caught an exquisite quilt folded neatly on a trunk, its patterns woven with stories I could sense even from a distance. Reaching out, I gently unfolded the quilt, revealing intricate designs that told tales of generations, the stitches a testament to love, loss, and the efforts of ancestors who had fought to protect their family. This, I breathed out loud, the weight of its significance settling on my shoulders. This quilt carried their love. At that moment, a rush of warmth surged through me, and I felt the spirits surround me, their presence intensified by my discovery. The quilt held an energy, an ancestral connection that pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. It was a shield against the darkness that sought to engulf us. In that instant, the stories of my lineage surged forward, enveloped in a vivid montage of memories unfurling like petals. I was transported into visions of my great-grandmother stitching each square, pouring her heart into every stitch, each design a prayer cloaked in history. As the memories washed over me, I could feel her fierce spirit, her protective instincts passing through the fabric, and a new understanding enveloped my heart. This was no ordinary quilt. It had been forged in resilience, a protective barrier between realms, symbolizing the family's unwavering connection to one another, even amid despair. Yet, the quilt also unveiled a painful truth. Those who wore its fabric as a shield against suffering still remained tethered within the confines of grief, trapped by scars they feared facing. Understanding this ignited an urgency within me, a profound realization that to embrace the light, we needed to acknowledge the shadows. With renewed purpose, I embraced the quilt, allowing it to guide me back to the heart of my home. There, bathed in candlelight, I placed the quilt as an altar to honor the spirits, the center of a connection that would bind us all and a reminder of our commitment to carry their stories forward. As night fell, I invited the spirits to speak their truths, the untold stories pressing at the edge of my consciousness, yearning to be revealed. In these threads, we weave forgiveness, I began to recite, feeling their approval swirl around me. In this home, we acknowledge the pain, transforming it into a legacy of love. A powerful energy filled the room, shadows dancing above the quilt as deep voices called forth their truths. One by one, stories unfolded, a tapestry rich with love and heartache, burdened with regrets and joys, forging a path of growth despite the pain. As I listened, pen in hand, I chronicled their tales, feeling the weight of each emotion flowing through my veins, a raw testimony of love transcending the shackles of loss. My mother spoke of her sacrifices, my father's dreams recognized, and all the lives entwined within this family's fabric. In that sacred space, the quilt became our bridge, a powerful symbol of transformation, healing even the deepest traumas. As I transcribed their messages, I felt new energy surge from the threads. It was both a calling to share their stories and a request for release. The larger truth came crashing down. Yes, the pain of loss had shaped our existence, But it was the love that connected these experiences, binding us like the threads of the quilt. Rest easy. Your stories will be shared, I promised, determination rising in my chest. In that moment, exhaustion washed over me, yet so did peace, a quiet resolve that this journey would transform not only my life, but the lives of countless others who needed to hear their stories too. With time, we would bring healing and liberation, allowing the bright spark of love and memory to resonate and shine. As the first light of dawn began to break, crimson and gold swirled together in the sky, illuminating the quilt and transforming it into a powerful beacon of hope. I understood that love, even in the wake of loss, was the key that would unlock the past, leading us into a future where the light of memory could shine brightly, illuminating the path for those who had yet to find their voice. In embracing the journey ahead, I felt the past intertwining with the present, crafting a legacy that would transcend time. Together, we would embrace transformation and face the depths of sorrow, armed with the understanding that love could spark even the most hidden of truths. My heart swelled with anticipation, ready to share this journey, to ensure the stories sung through the hands of time would resonate through generations as a tribute to love eternal. As I rose with the sun, a new determination coursed through my veins. The quilt lay before me, its vibrant colors reflecting not just the memories of my ancestors, but also an urgent call to action. I could feel the spirits swarming around me, an electric energy that fueled my resolve to share their stories with the world. But the upcoming journey wouldn't just be about them. It would be a quest for my own healing too, intertwining our past and present in a way that would redefine who I was meant to be. Days melded into a rhythm that felt almost sacred. Each morning, I would approach the quilt, touching its threads, whispering promises, and giving gratitude, allowing its energy to meld with mine. With every candle I lit, I felt the weight of history join me, a chorus of love coalescing, urging me toward a public sharing of their stories. I reached out to the community, organizing a gathering to honor the lost, inviting those who had their own attachments to the spirits of this town, those haunted by unfinished stories, unspoken grief. The response was overwhelming. A ripple of anticipation echoed through the neighborhood like a nostalgic tune. Together, we were to transform sorrow into celebration, darkness into light. The night of the gathering arrived, and I felt a knot of excitement and nerves twist in my stomach. The community center had been adorned with candles, each flame flickering to life, shadows dancing along the walls like spirits waiting to be acknowledged. Beautiful flowers filled each corner, their fragrances mingling with the scents of healing herbs I had gathered. I had poured everything into preparing this space, and now it was alive with potential. As guests arrived, their faces reflected a myriad of emotions: curiosity, hesitance, but also hope. I welcomed each person, recognizing familiar faces among the crowd, people whose stories intertwined with mine in ways I had never anticipated. With a soft smile, I invited them to take a moment and reflect, to allow the spirits of their loved ones to join us for the evening. Once everyone settled, I stood before them, heart racing as I looked around at the sea of people willing to bear witness. "Tonight," I began, my voice shaky but growing stronger, "we gather not only to remember those who have passed, but to share their stories, their struggles, their joys, and their love." The warmth of the quilt rested in my hands, its energy vibrating as I spoke, its purpose guiding me. I want to honor my mother's legacy and the dreams she cherished, and in doing so, I invite each of you to honor your own stories, too. Taking a deep breath, I began to recount the stories I had been entrusted with: my mother's sacrifices, my father's dreams, and countless other lives that had been interwoven with my own. As I shared their memories, the energy in the room shifted. The flickering candle flames danced higher, shadows leaped around the space, and the air grew thick with emotion. A palpable connection formed among us, binding our hearts together. Some guests wept openly, their own memories ignited by my words, while others listened intently, their faces reflecting a blend of healing and grief. After finishing my recount, I felt a swell of momentum build among the audience. Eyes glistened with hope. Faces shifted as stories began pouring forth. A resident recounted tales of their lost sibling. Another shared memories of their childhood neighbor, whose vibrant spirit remained vivid in their hearts. Slowly but surely, they began to connect, igniting a shared warmth that spread like wildfire. Each of us carries these stories together, I reminded them. Our experiences weave a tapestry of collective resilience. Here, in this moment, we can let our memories guide us. As the evening wore on, laughter began to break the surface, bright fragments of joy dancing like fireflies against the backdrop of sorrow. It was astonishing to witness the transformation as vulnerabilities were exchanged and hearts began to heal. We were no longer mere individuals steeped in our grief, but vessels of light, resilient and empowered by the stories we dared to share. But even amid this blossoming connection, a sense of urgency nagged at me. I felt as though the spirits were riding the waves of the evening, growing restless, pushing me to undertake the next phase. We've honored the past, I realized. But let's take this further and ensure these tales aren't just stories told, but legacies lived. With that thought igniting an idea, I invited everyone to create their own quilts, reminiscent of the one I had found in the attic. Let's weave a new story together, a connecting piece that can bond us beyond this night, I encouraged, excitement rising in my voice. Each square will represent our loved ones, our experiences, and each will be made with devotion, heart, and love. The sparkling eyes of those gathered fueled my enthusiasm, and I turned to my display of fabric squares, colorful threads, and quilting supplies laid out for everyone to explore. Everyone can contribute, irrespective of whether you're a seamstress, an artist, or a storyteller. It's the spirit and intention that matter most. As I guided them, I led them through the experience of crafting these individual squares, urging them to infuse their creations with love and purpose. I encouraged each person to think about a specific memory they wish to honor and to encapsulate that feeling in their chosen piece. The sounds of laughter, stitching, and weaving echoed throughout the center, an orchestra of unity forming around us. The act of creation became infused with therapeutic energy as people shared and connected through laughter, tears, and camaraderie. The threads began to intertwine not only on the quilt, but in their hearts as well, transforming wounds into shared endeavors of expression. A gentle mist of nostalgia laced the air, as the soothing tones of voices exchanging stories wove together to create an ambiance of comfort. Each patch that came to life held a piece of their spirit, a token of their love destined to be mixed with the history I had begun to create. As I watched the community come together, I felt the spirits envelop us once again, whispering encouragement and approval, a delightful dance of energy swirling around, uniting our heartbeats in this powerful moment of creation. Together, we were building a lineage, one stitch, one story at a time. When the last square was stitched and the final square was lifted triumphantly to reveal our collective creation, a blanket of warmth enveloped us all. The quilt now held the weight of emotion, the essence of all those who had shared their hearts. It wasn't just fabric, it was a testament to our transformation, a physical manifestation of love and resilience. In that moment, I realized this was but the beginning. The beautiful quilt we had created would become a living legacy, a canvas to celebrate our shared history while preserving the memories of those who had come before us. It would be displayed not only as an object, but a reminder that healing is possible and that stories, when recognized and shared, have the power to transcend time, creating bridges between our past and our future. As the gathering drew to a close, I felt an overwhelming gratitude swelling within. We had ventured together on this transformative journey, to heal, to reclaim, and to celebrate love. I knew the spirits were smiling down upon us, echoing their approval and love as we embraced the depth of connection we had built. I left that evening with my heart open wide, ready to embrace the transformation ahead, knowing that love was the most potent force of all. Together, we would continue to weave our stories into the tapestry of life, ensuring that the hearts we held dear were never truly lost, but eternally woven into the fabric of our lives. As days passed into weeks, the quilt hung prominently in the community center, an ever-present testament to our journey. It shone under the soft glow of lights, drawing the attention of anyone who entered. Visitors would stop to admire the intricate designs, each patchwork square narrating its own story. The voices of those who contributed would echo in my memory, the warmth and spirit of our collective effort resonating in every fiber. I could almost hear their laughter mingled with the joy of creation, and I felt compelled to do more. But as time flowed on, the initial excitement began to ebb away. I noticed a gnawing sense of restlessness creeping into my thoughts. The quilt now stood as a symbol of transformation, yet I sensed that the community yearned for something deeper, an enduring dialogue with our past that would enable us to heal the underlying wounds that still lingered. The only way forward was to create a sacred space where connections could deepen, where stories could thrive, and where the spirits would continue to guide us. Driven by inspiration, I began to arrange a series of storytelling workshops, a place for individuals to share their personal narratives, to explore vulnerabilities, and to fortify the communal bond we had started to forge. I found myself immersed in planning, contacting local storytellers, collating materials, and spreading the word far and wide. Let's gather to honor our stories, to learn from each other, and to heal together, I announced in an invitation that echoed through town. There was an excitement in the air, and people responded eagerly, committing to share their experiences. Each story waited to be woven into the fabric of our lives, just like those squares in the quilt. The first workshop opened on a crisp autumn evening, falling leaves whispering secrets of the past as I stepped into the community center, now a cozy haven filled with the warmth of anticipation. Rows of chairs were arranged in a circle, each seat inviting personal connections. The smell of herbal tea wafted through the air, bringing with it an atmosphere of nurturing and safety. I sat cross-legged on the floor, the quilt draped gently over a nearby table, as a symbol of the warmth and love that enveloped our gathering. As participants arrived, I welcomed them with open arms, their faces illuminated with a mix of nervousness and hope. I felt their collective heartbeat, each thrum of anticipation syncing with my own. Tonight, we embark on a journey to share our truths and to inspire one another. I smiled, inviting each person to the circle with my eyes. No story is too small or too insignificant, for every heartbeat counts, every experience matters. Let us celebrate together. With that, the stories began to unfold like petals blooming against the backdrop of dusk. A gentle soul shared the struggles of losing her father, her voice quaking but steady as she recounted the lessons he had imparted. Even in death, he guided her life. Another elder described the fortitude it took to immigrate to this land, battling stereotypes and challenges while still holding tightly to her roots. As each person shared, a sacred energy filled the room, stitches of vulnerability weaving us together tighter. Encouraging murmurs of understanding rippled through our circle. I watched as the raw emotions passed from one person to another, the tears, laughter, heartaches, and hope. Each soul's light activated in another's shadow, illuminating what had been hidden for too long. The night flowed with stories that intertwined like the threads of our quilt, fostering an exquisite sense of belonging. I noticed one young woman sitting at the edge of the circle, her eyes glistening in the candlelight, yet she remained silent. I felt a pull towards her, an instinct urging me to reach out. I've always felt my story was too small, she finally whispered, her voice barely carrying above a breath. But these stories help me see how our lives are connected, how they matter. And just like that, she began to unravel her journey of moving across states, seeking a life apart from painful memories, the isolation she felt in her new surroundings. As she spoke, her voice grew stronger, and the room seemed to expand, enveloping her with warmth, inviting her to cross the bridge toward belonging. I felt the spirits echo her sentiments, urging her onward, knowing what it meant to reclaim her voice amid uncertainty. Every life holds value, I affirmed, wrapping my arms wide in acceptance. Every fragment matters, and your story deserves its space. As the evening began to set, I watched the profound connections forged between individuals. Each shared experience wove a new thread in our communal fabric, knitting us closer. Trust blossomed like wildflowers. Each seed of vulnerability became a bridge of understanding. As the participants gathered their belongings, I stood by the quilt, my heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you for sharing your journeys. It is an honor to witness your strength, I murmured, feeling the spirits rush around me, savoring their joy in our gathering. In the following weeks, the workshops transformed into a beacon of hope in our community, cultivating a bond through our diverse experiences. Each evening brought fresh insights, revelations that shaped how we perceived ourselves in relation to one another. The stories offered new perspectives on loss, love, and resilience. Yet, as far as I had come, I knew there remained a deeper need to celebrate the ties that bind us to our ancestors. I sensed that we were not just healing as individuals. We were actively welcoming the spirits of our lineage to participate in our lives, inviting them to lead us toward healing. Inspired, I began to plan a large community event, the Festival of Stories, to honor our ancestors, merging our newfound strength with the celebration of their legacies. I envisioned booths filled with stories, artifacts, and music passed down through generations. It would be a day where laughter, joy, and remembrance could triumph over pain. As I delved deeper into preparations, the anticipation stirred excitement in my soul. The festival would become a bridge that connected our past and present, where the quilt would take center stage, adorned with new stories added each year. I could envision the spirits intermingling with the living, guiding us toward a brighter future. In that moment of clarity, I finally understood that the key to healing wasn't just about addressing our individual pain. It was about embracing the depth of our shared humanity, the unbreakable bond of love, loss, and growth transmitted through the generations. Together, we could reclaim our narratives not just as individuals, but as a united lineage, eager to tell our stories and honor those who had come before us. Before the dawn of the festival, I sat beneath the quilt, wrapped in its comforting embrace, my heart brimming with gratitude for the journey we had undertaken. It was far more than celebrating our identities. It was a communal metamorphosis toward healing, reconciliation, and hope. As I prepared for the journey ahead, I could feel the spirits smiling beside me, excited to take part in this beautiful dance of remembrance and connection. Love would lead the way, stitching our lives together eternally. The day of the Festival of Stories dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a warm golden glow over the community center grounds. Excitement bubbled in the air as families arrived, carrying blankets, homemade dishes, and artifacts holding stories of their own. Children giggled, the echoes of their laughter dancing through the trees, while adults exchanged spirited greetings, each face illuminated with anticipation. As I stood outside the center, I took a moment to breathe in the energy surrounding me. The quilt hung prominently in the entrance, vibrant and full of life, welcoming everyone as a symbol of our shared journey. My heart swelled with pride at the thought of all the love and resilience woven into its fabric, each square a testament to the struggles and triumphs of those who had come before us. Are you ready? A cheerful voice pulled me from my thoughts. It was my friend and fellow organizer, Maria, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. She had been a pillar of support throughout this process, and I felt grateful to have her by my side. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied, a nervous smile breaking across my face. I just hope everyone feels the spirit of love and connection we've built. Maria nodded, squeezing my hand reassuringly. Come on, let's get this festival started. Together, we stepped inside, the atmosphere buzzing with the noise of chatter and laughter. The space had been beautifully transformed. Tables adorned with colorful fabrics displayed photos, handwritten stories, and artifacts that held whispered memories of the past. As the festival kicked off, I introduced the event with a heartfelt speech, reflecting on what this gathering meant not just for me, but for all involved. Today, we honor the legacy of our ancestors, celebrating the stories that shape who we are and where we come from, I said, my voice steady and warm. Each of you holds a piece of history within you, and together, we create a powerful tapestry of life that transcends generations. Applause erupted, and I felt the spirits of my ancestors echoing the sentiment, encouraging us to create lifelong connections. The energy surged through the crowd, and the festival unfolded like a symphony of memories, a gathering of warmth, acceptance, and laughter. Throughout the day, each booth came alive with stories. A local historian shared tales of our town's origins, transporting listeners back to a time when our ancestors overcame adversity to build a community rooted in love. Nearby, a musician strummed a beautiful melody on an old guitar, songs written by his grandfather ringing true with nostalgia, pulling on the heartstrings of those who listened. Children giggled as they painted their own tiles, each brushstroke a creative expression of their imagination, accompanied by tales spun by grandparents who had brought them along. One wise elder, with a twinkle in her eye, captivated her young audience with tales of mischievous spirits and lessons of love that had weathered storms throughout life. The quilt, center stage, beckoned attendees to engage further. I invited them to add their own squares, new stories waiting to be sewn into the fabric of our collective history. One by one, families approached, eager to place their patches with intention, each square illuminating the memories and values they wished to honor. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the gathering, I felt the spirits gathering closer, filling the air with a deep sense of belonging. And then, in a moment of profound clarity, it struck me. This festival was not just a celebration, it was a communion with the past, a dance of love where the vibrancy of life intertwined with the ethereal whispers of those who had come before us. With the final rays of daylight, I gathered everyone for the closing circle, encouraging all to hold hands. There was a beautiful energy thrumming among us, a connection that felt both profound and sacred. As the last light faded, I lifted my voice, inviting everyone to share a memory or a wish for those they honored today. One by one, attendees spoke, and their shared words resonated, weaving a tapestry of emotion. I listened as they expressed gratitude and love, acknowledging the struggles they faced and the triumphs they celebrated. Tears flowed freely, and laughter erupted, merging into a harmonious blend of love and resilience. In that sacred moment, surrounded by community and spirit, I felt the essence of our ancestors wrapping around us like an embrace. Together, we stood united, each heartbeat echoing with stories shared, promises made to carry their legacies forward. As the final words of love and gratitude filled the air, a gentle sense of closure washed over me. The festival had created an armful of healing connections, strengthening the ties we held to one another and to those who had traveled before us. But even as the festival came to a close, I recognized this was merely a new beginning. The quilt would continue to grow, just as our stories would unfold. I turned to face the vibrant patchwork, envisioning the tales of countless lives and the continued evolution of our lineage. Just as love stitched its intricate threads through the fabric, so too would our bonds keep growing, becoming a legacy that would echo through the ages. With a heart brimming with hope, I looked out at the gathering one last time, a smile spreading across my face. "Let's carry these stories forward," I said, my voice steady with conviction. "Let's keep stitching our lives together, creating a living tapestry that celebrates who we are and honors those who came before us." As the final notes of laughter and love lingered in the air, I understood that we had carved a space where past and present would forever dance together, a testament to the enduring power of connection, healing, and love.